Okay, so I guess I hi, I'm Zane. This is gonna be my stupid little podcast here for watching Monster House every single day for a month, as I promised that I would. For if we were stuck in quarantine for a whole another month, which is kind of disappointing and sad, but guess when times really come down to it, that's kind of just how it goes. But that's okay. That's besides the point. So I watched Monster House about like 20 minutes ago, and it's still just as fantastic as it's been the past like 20 times I've watched it previously, 30-ish or so. Either way, it's a great movie no matter what. So I'm gonna be recording this through two different formats. I'm gonna be doing it through video on YouTube, and there's gonna be audio playing in the background slightly, and then I'm also gonna be uploading it. I think I'm using Anchor, which is the other one that one of my friends recommended to me, but that one's just gonna be pure voice audio and no background audio, so you're not really missing out on much. But potentially later down the line, I might make a couple like infographics for if I'm doing video, but you probably won't miss out on a whole bunch. It'll probably just be like stupid little memes specifically for this. But I mean, so I guess we'll get right down into it. I don't really have a name for this yet, so I'm gonna call it Watching Monster House every single day for a month with some of my friends because I want them to. And I think that's probably a good enough name. I'm not gonna get creative with it. But my goal here is I'll watch the movie every day, and then every day after today, I'm going to get one of my friends to watch the show or watch the movie, and then I'll get them to come on here, and then we'll talk about it for like 30 minutes, and then I'll just do that with a different person every single day for a whole month. If I can get enough people to do it. If not, I'll just keep doing it by myself for a while, but like, it'll work. It'll be great. This movie's fantastic. I'll give it a little rating at the end for my rating for watching it for the day. Okay. So, everyone probably already knows what this movie is. It's like an animated classic. Horror released in, I believe, 2006 in like July, and which is only roughly a year before another classic of Twilight, and they somehow made the CGI wolves look really, really good, and the grass in Monster House also looks really, really good. The hair, not so much, but we'll get into that another time. So, it stars main characters DJ and Chowder. And also Jenny, and she's a Girl Scout. I don't even think I really even need to do a synopsis of this. If you're watching, you've probably seen it before, heard me talk about it like 400 million times. That's okay. So, big thing that I want to talk about is all the actors. It's insane that they got some of the ones they got. So DJ's voiced by Mitchell Musso, which you probably know from Hannah Montana. Skalinsky is voiced by John Heater, or you probably know him from Napoleon Dynamite. Jason Lee voices Bones. Steve Buscemi, of course, is Nevercracker. Maggie Gyllenhaal plays basically herself as Z. Kevin James is a cop. Nick Cannon is also a cop. There's Kathleen Turner, who voices the mom, and she was in like the Romancing the Stone series from like the 80s with Danny DeVito. God bless his soul. I love that guy too. And the dad is Fred Willard, he was in Modern Family, Anchorman, Spinal Tap. You might not recognize him from the name, but if you heard his voice or saw his face, you would absolutely know like instantly who he was. And I mean, there's like the people that voice Chatter and stuff are less known and not as famous. The girl that voiced this little girl at the beginning of the movie on the trike went on to do hit film like Zoom, which no one ever wants to talk about because it wasn't good, but that's okay. So, this movie was, I believe it was screenplay written by Dan Harmon, who you probably know from Rick and Morty and Community, as well as it was co-directed by Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg, which is insane. I mean, only like 4 years later, like Steven Spielberg went on to do Tintin, which is mind-blowing to see how far you can go technology-wise within just that little amount of time. But like, man, he done did it, and ooh, it's good. I'd also recommend watching that one. But yeah, you have these like massive names in this movie that no one ever talks about except for me. I always talk about it, which, I mean, starting to watch it kind of started off as a meme because most of my friends didn't think it was a good movie. I'm like, man, this movie was fantastic as a kid. I remember watching it. I loved it. So then I watched it, and I'm like, man, this movie's great. I'm gonna watch it again. And then I realized that they were taking it off of Netflix at the end of March of last year. So then I'm like, man, all right, well, I gotta watch it like every single day. I gotta get my money's worth out of this. Gotta, maybe they'll be like, wow, that one dude watched Monster House like every day for a month. We gotta keep this movie on. And they didn't notice me, but I mean, well, a man can dream. And now I don't think the movie's on any streaming platforms, so you have to buy yourself a copy off of Amazon with 1-day shipping so you can get it in time for Valentine's Day photo shoot. I didn't regret it in the slightest. It's absolutely like excellent purchase. Amazon Prime's great. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. And even like, man, I'm looking at the box even for the movie right now. I mean, it doesn't really look like it'd be a spooky movie, but I remember seeing this in the theaters when I was a kid, and it's like, it's weirdly dark for what you would consider to be a kid's movie. I mean, the dude's wife dies. They show her skeleton in the basement. That's mildly horrifying. And like, monster comes to life. They try and kill the kids. They doing air quotes here, they're killing off main characters, or not main characters, side characters, by like having the house eat them. And you can pretty much presume that they're dead because nothing ever comes out. But then, I mean, they do show up at the end of the movie, but the movie is mildly traumatizing for a kid. The toys in the basement, the like house equipment coming and attacking people, when DJ's sleeping and the shadows like slowly creeping over him. They even do like a fantastic job with the whole soundtrack. There's no, like, I don't even think any of the songs are actually named, and there's no soundtrack that exists, I believe. But they did like an absolutely fantastic job with it, making it sort of like a horror type while also giving you the perfect feel for Halloween, because the movie takes place on the night before, or the night of Halloween. I completely forgot about that. That's a huge part. The whole movie takes place before Halloween, and a reason that becomes up later on is why they're so freaked out about making sure people don't go to the house. It's because it's trick-or-treating, and the house is just going to eat the entire neighborhood. Now, if there's a homeowners association anywhere around there, they probably would not entirely care for having the house look like that. But I guess you probably wouldn't want to mess with a cranky old neighbor with the name of Nevercracker, especially when they look like that. And when he was the first house that was even built. Because in the like sort of flashbacks back, the entire area is just like desert, and his is the only house being built. And like, how many years ago is that? That was probably like 30 years ago. A lot changed since then. Massive terraforming efforts. It's definitely a good fantasy for that. I'm also checking out the back here. Yeah, Robert Zemeckis. Wait, he did Polar Express too? Okay. That's interesting. I mean, in my eyes, it was considered the best animated movie of the year. But I'm assuming Over the Hedge and other stuff came out that year. That doesn't count, though. That's stupid. It might be slightly difficult to talk about this for a while on my own, but it's going to be a lot easier on the other days where I'm talking with friends. So this will just be the nice little intro. I am jumping all over the place, and I'm sorry for that. I'll get it to be more coherent. It's just weirdly nerve-wracking to be talking in front of a microphone by myself for once like ever. But yeah, I mean, looking back, as I mentioned before, the animation's kind of, it's a little bit dated, as you can tell, but none of the characters hit that uncanny valley type look where they hit the weird line of looking just realistic enough that it all of a sudden the quality like drops heavily because it's almost a little bit too real. It's a little gross. Everything's stylized just enough where everything is cartoony or like clay like enough where you can look at it and be like, yeah, it's got its own sort of look to it. Whereas like the environmental pieces have really good looks to them. Like the house is totally real looking, and it's one of those ones where if it wasn't more disheveled looking, you'd look no different than something out of the norm. After this movie, I remember looking up at house windows and stuff and like trying to pinpoint which houses would have the, like, which windows would be the eyes, and like the garage doors could be like the big teeth of the house and stuff like that. So I mean, it lent to a lot of childhood creativity of living constructs and stuff. And I mean, yeah, like, I mean, the more that I watch this movie, it's almost for the novelty at this point, but it's not, it's always been good. I don't know why people don't like it very much, but I can totally understand why people don't like it, because it really is kind of stupid. But you gotta think that it's not totally for an adults type movie, but everyone can get a bit of enjoyment out of it. And it's like almost every time I watch it, there's certain parts that'll like get me a little bit. There's like classic lines, which the house has a uvula, so it's a girl house, and it's like, what? Sorry. Chowder playing basketball, 3 minutes left on the clock. I'm playing basketball. And hits him in the face. Like, there's a lot of charm in it. It pairs off perfectly with the feeling of it is like the night of Halloween. You've got the autumn leaves. This, like, the sun is pretty like orange. Like, you're just getting off out of school. People have been wearing their costumes all day. Like, there's a very specific sort of feeling it gives. Because I mean, I was always one to typically like dress up for school and stuff. Because I mean, it's Halloween. It's one day of the year. You gotta get all nice and dressed up for it. Show off your cool costume that your mom helped you make. Stuff like that. And yeah, I get those exact feelings because I'd walk home from elementary school and it would, it get all the like leaves blowing. I'd walk down the path, and it's, I don't know, it lends itself like a nice little feeling to that. And I never really I guess speaking reminds me of me being younger. Like, DJ's biggest thing is that he doesn't want to go trick-or-treating that year because he's getting too old for it. But his friend Chowder is obviously still not out of it, wearing his little cape and a shirt that's a little bit too small for him, always wanting to play basketball up front. But DJ's now a big grown-up kid, and you can definitely tell, especially when Jenny comes over and try to be all impressive, being like, yeah, I drink beer, blah blah blah, I don't go trick-or-treating, all this stuff. The same thing comes with Chowder, where you sort of get like the romance subplot, but like they're just kids, and like, I don't know, it's fun, it's stupid. Is it necessary? No. Little romance like that are never entirely necessary, but I mean, it gives like more of the feeling like as a kid when you meet someone new and you're like, oh my gosh, you have a little kid crush on them and stuff. And I mean, when you're taking down a house of like, I mean, that's an entirely different story. And all the characters are extremely entertaining, even the parents that you barely see within, like, you see for maybe 2 minutes at the beginning of the movie. They all have like some personality to them. The dad is a dentist and he's very clearly excited to be leaving the house and DJ alone, and the mom is being like most typical parents are wondering if kid's gonna die or super worried, but they have the babysitter, so it's all good. And then the babysitter comes in, and she's a typical babysitter, and then as soon as everyone leaves, she is all punk rock and my name is Z now. I mean, I never had that babysitter experience. All my babysitters were pretty sick and nice, but maybe I was just a dumb kid. For all I know, I probably was. I hated getting in trouble. I was always too scared of breaking the rules and doing stuff, so that might definitely lend to that. And then even the first encounter with Chowder, getting hit by the car right off the bat wearing a Creature from the Black Lagoon mask that then gets run over, and immediately going into playing basketball. Like, I don't know. This whole movie just like oozes in characters. Everyone is totally different. The cops, you've got Paul Blart and the other guy, Nick Cannon's playing him, and they have like such a great dynamic of like the brand new rookie cop that is just like finger on the trigger, he's super nervous. And then you've got like Kevin James's character just like, yeah, whatever, just don't do it again, but like secretly kind of bends the rules to his own way, especially when it comes to getting the cough syrup from the plan that the kids were gonna put the monster to sleep by having Chowder steal all of the codeine syrup from his dad's pharmacy, even though he's like, I don't want to steal from my dad. And like, I mean, nowadays that would not fly. You couldn't even get that stuff. It's all over the counter now. But it also lends itself to a totally different time. And then meeting up with Stålenhag at the pizza place, and he's just a total guy. I don't even know a better way of describing it. But he's sitting there during a shift. It's basically almost all the lights are out and just barely the sun coming in from outside. They do an excellent job with the atmosphere. I can't state that enough. But they come in asking for help about monster houses. And from this part, there was a cutscene where they were going to talk about like a sort of almost like the Necronomicon. There was going to be a bestiary type book situation where they were going to look through other examples of, as Stålenhag calls it, like Domus Mactipolis, which it basically just translates to monster house from either Latin or some made up language for it. But you can look back into the concept arts for them, and there's like medieval time castles that were like monster houses, probably from like the king dying and getting buried within. There was a trailer park monster house, which was just like a little RV, and some other examples of just the house ones. I'll have to pull those pictures up another time, but they're actually pretty neat. Even the concept art for this movie, all hand drawn. This movie could have been 2D and it even would have looked really nice. The person did an absolutely incredible job with all of that. So like, it didn't have to be 3D, but it was kind of the breaking point where like hand drawn movies were sort of starting to like get phased out. I know Princess and the Frog came out maybe a couple years after, and that's one of the last known Disney hand-drawn movies to come out like since. And even since then, like, there's only been a couple memorable ones for me, like Klaus that just recently came out, but 3D animation's all the craze nowadays, and not really worth talking about the other forms anymore, which is a little bit disappointing. So we'll keep going here. I haven't checked out the filmmaker commentary, actually. I might need to do that for another one, with the online DVD-ROM linking to exciting games, downloads, and activities. Like, I mean, who wouldn't want that? So, sorry, I don't know why I shouldn't be reading the box on the back of this. I think definitely for the next little bit, when I come to coming up with stuff, I'm going to give a little bit more precise talking points so that I can get into this a little bit better and maybe not be quite as nervous. But I can literally talk about this movie for like, I don't know how long. But I mean, it's so good. The bad things, I guess, that you can get out of it are you can easily take gripes on the animation for it, and for its time, they do maybe not the best that they could have had, but the movie's budget was relatively low in comparison to how it looks for Shark Boy and Lava Girl the year before. The computer quality stuff was a lot higher. I know that one mixed live action and that, but there's a really big difference. And the movie budget was roughly, I think, 75 million, and it doubled that at the box office, which is really good, actually. Because I would think that a lot of people would believe the whole animated movies are for kids thing roughly around that point. Because I know people were saying cartoons were and you'd get made fun of for watching them occasionally. I mean, I didn't. I watched like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and stuff. But that's also besides the point. I'm getting off topic like super easily. I'm also having to keep track of the time because I can only go for 30 minutes according to this website. I could do a little bit longer, but I think 30 minutes to talk about a movie every single day is probably good. Especially when the movie's only 90 minutes. Yeah, it's 90 minutes. But it'll be exciting to start getting other people to talk about it. And I have some friends that would be able to go really in depth with character development and stuff, because I'm just a dude that watches a lot of movies because movies are really fun. And if it wasn't for me doing Monster House for this, another fantastic candidate would be watching Die Hard, which I watch every single day of December, which could also be another interesting idea if this turns out to be if this just turns out okay in the end, because I also have a lot to say about that. I've done essays on it and other like writing projects about it, and I considered doing some on this, but it's hard to say if this follows the traditional hero's journey that is a lot of movies. But I could almost consider this to be a good like coming of age movie. You've got children with like DJ at the start of the movie is like, I'm grown up, I don't want to trick-or-treat anymore. Trick-or-treating's for babies. I'm not a baby anymore, I'm a teenager, I'm 13. And Chowder's still living it up. He doesn't care if they're the same age. He's like, man, trick-or-treating, it's all about the candy. So, and then you get growing up, like finding people that you're attracted to, like opposite sex, whatever. So, and then by like the end of the movie, he's like, man, no one's like too old for trick-or-treating. Or like, I'm definitely not. I can do what I want, and it doesn't even matter. So there's like a whole like character development as they go through. And there's like a lot to be said about that. It's really nice. It feels like pretty organic. Like they come up with some stupid convoluted plans, but realistically, let's say the house across your street was also alive and no one believed you, and you just had a couple friends that absolutely did. Because I mean, this house was smart and sentient, like really, really smart at like keeping discreet. But you'd have to come up with some like ridiculous, stupid stuff. It's almost like every little kid's dream to have like a monster type deal where you can take down a monster. You can play like fantasy games and stuff like that. So like trying to plan that stuff out in real life could almost be a little bit exciting, just minus the whole potential fatality part. But like, I mean, facing down death right at them with their water guns and flashlights, they do a fantastic job at staying brave. And then I've hardly even talked about Nevercracker, but like him basically dying off within the first 10 minutes of the movie is, wow, they really put you for a loop. That the creepy old guy's like has a heart attack, like just instantly. It's like, oh my gosh, what? And then Chowder has a great line like, don't worry, you're not a murderer. When it's an accident, they call it manslaughter. Like, the kid has some fantastic lines. And even, you can tell, like, at his house, his parents don't pay attention to him. Late at night, he's playing the Atari. He mentions that his mom's going out. Mom's out seeing movies with a personal trainer. His dad's working at the pharmacy super late. TJ's parents are not home. His dad doesn't seem to care. His mom is super, super caring. And you don't hear much about Jenny, but she's at an all-girls boarding school, so you can... Everyone's got roughly, like... They've got a pretty similar past. And then, like, all of the adults don't seem to believe them. Like, Z and Bones are kind of whatever. Bones, sort of believes them when it comes to his kite being taken away. But he gets kicked out and then immediately gets eaten not too long after. Which is pretty spooky. But it follows up with, like, fantastic music as it's happening. I don't know why I don't have, like, music from the thing set up, but that might be copyright. That'd be kind of cool to have that going, though. But anyways, characters dying, there's, like, sort of little bit of an under feeling of dread, as, like, all the characters that are getting introduced are slowly going down and down. But the movie doesn't ever feel inherently terrifying. It's really unsettling in a couple parts. Like, as they get into the house, like, the inner machinations of the house are super cool. Basically, the throat/mouth part is, like, floorboards spinning around and grinding stuff up. It reminds me a lot of James and the Giant Peach with the random mechanical shark that, like, spits out the fish plates out of its head. It's a little bit off the wall, but that's what it reminded me of, and it's really cool. It manages to, like, eat the house in half, and then, like, as the kids are walking around, they're, like, piecing together who Nevercracker is because no one's even bothered to talk to him. So, there's just a bunch of really tiny little details, and you hardly even get to see a lot of the inside of the house. But it's not necessary, because by the time they get to the basement, it's like, yeah, everyone's stories are totally true about the house. And it's, I don't know, it's really entertaining. So at this point here, I'm basically at, like, the end of all of this, so I should probably start wrapping it up. But yes, I will continue to do this every day for a month as long as I can. As long as even if I don't have stuff to talk about, I'm gonna find something to talk about for 30 minutes each day, and no matter who I'm with, it'll be significantly easier talking to someone else about the movie than it is for me talking one-sided for 30 minutes. But I mean, the past, like, 28 minutes have gone by pretty fast, and it's actually been pretty enjoyable just shooting it out there without a script. I feel like I've done an okay job. The sound settings and stuff, I'm not entirely sure how they are. But if you are, wherever Anchor uploads this to, if you're watching from that, you can also check out the YouTube video that I'll should also have posted for roughly the same name, if you do care to see, just if you like looking at something. Because I'll have in the top left corner whatever song is currently playing, and I'll also post a link to the artist who did the background, which is Simon Stålenhag, who has a TV series based off of one of his books on Amazon Prime called I think it's Out of the Loop or In the Loop. It's a really Tales from the Loop, I think, and it's also a fantastic show. So I guess this will be the end here. If you've made it all this way, congratulations. You made it this far. And I hope I'll see you again next time. Thanks for listening.